back lever Manna workout is a great straight arm strength workout. Now it's similar to the front lever planche in that it's a gymnastic strength straight arm workout. It does take a lot of time to develop that connective tissue strength, and the extremes of the positions are very hard on the joint, so you want to give your body time to adapt. It is a good workout. I enjoy them, but I wouldn't prioritize them above bent arm strength. In saying that, if you're quite tight, they can help with mobility. If you are tight, they're very hard. So they're a great challenge to a tight person's body, but then also a great challenge to anyone just in terms of the strength. So to start out with the back lever, I get people just to do a static hold. So just conditioning the shoulders here, the connective tissue. So I like people to be able to, if that's too strong, they come forward. I like people to be able to get a good 30-second hold in that position quite comfortably as a first step. In that you can work the scap shrugs, so you're protracting the shoulders. Depending on the tension in your body, you can do a parallel grip like that, or an underhand grip, or overhand it is, but then you've got the supinated grip like that, which is a bit more heavy on the flexibility. As you get stronger, you just walk further back until you've got the rings hanging vertically and pulling yourself up. Once you're progressing that, you're trying to get more of a stretch in that position. You can drop the hips down, and then you can work on getting a dynamic lift, so you're getting that pipe lift, and then stretching, getting those dynamic reps going. And that's a great first step in terms of developing the back lever. Now, the first step for developing the Manna is just to get those hips up off the ground. So for some people, the shoulders are quite tight, so they need to have the hands a bit wider apart, and they can have the fingers facing out if it's quite strong on the wrists. And then from there, just driving the hips up. And you might start out doing reps before you can get a hold here. You want to ideally get a nice static hold. And with all the gymnastic strength work, like the isometric holds, the eccentric, lowering, and then dynamic reps with the lifting and lowering together. So here, if we're doing more of a dynamic, then you can come up and down, touch the butt. Once that's getting stronger and you've got a bit more flexibility, you can move the hands together or use parallettes or dumbbells. So you can get the legs through. And going from that L sit into the lift. Now to make that heavier, it's just a matter of leaning the shoulders back. The further you lean the shoulders, the heavier it's going to be in the upper body. So this one, you can, just like with the planche, the angle is really important. So you could measure yourself, like your fingertips from the wall, lean back till your head touches. That way you've got a measurable. Same with the planche. So if you're doing the planche, you just lean over, get the head to touch, and the distance of the fingertips from the wall is going to determine how far you're leaning. And it's the same with the Manna, in that you have those fingertips there, and if the wall was behind you, then you're leaning back and getting that. Now, the wrist loading is quite heavy, so using parallettes for a lot of people is a good idea, just because it's quite strong, or just having the fingers out to the side. And for the L sit, using parallettes or even 2 chairs. So if you're developing that can help, just so you don't have to elevate your body above the ground, because that scapular depression at the beginning is very heavy and quite hard, and you might find it quite a challenge to keep that position if you're above the ground. So for the L sit, which is also the Manna progression, because you want to have that strength to bring those hips forward, but to start that process off, you might just be doing a hold here in that neutral kind of position. You can use parallettes or 2 chairs to raise up and lean back as well. And then you can use 2 chairs to get a half L or a full L or single leg. And they're quite hard to get the hips forward and the shoulders back to lean. Now, Past that, the Manna gets very heavy to get that lift off. So you really want to develop a good solid foundation before you go there. So you should be able to get a good solid 30-second L-sit hold, at least in parallettes before you're trying to lean back. But it's one of those moves that, you know, you're not going to be able to progress unless you've got a foundation. It's very heavy. And it takes a lot of mobility, and that's why it's coupled with the back lever, because the back lever stretches you out in that position to help you get stronger in that position. So when you press up into it, you've got that mobility there. So I like kind of 3 to 5 sets, 30 seconds on the back lever, 30 seconds on the L-sit, and then a 30-second stretch, or a minute worth of stretching. I ran for about 5 years in the studio. I used to do 30-second back lever, 30-second Manna variation, change it each month, and then a 30-second left leg forward front split variation and 30-second right leg forward front split variation. That works quite well. So that's an easy one to integrate if you want to do more of a whole body type deal. If you're just trying to get it done, like I'm just getting back into doing back levers and Manna work now, so usually my workout's only around kind of 3 to 4 minutes, and I'm just doing 30-30 back and forth, and that's just to do the basic versions of it, get that connective tissue strength, get blood flow into the tendons in those positions and get it started. So it's a great way to get started on if you do want to integrate it into your week and you don't want to spend too much time on it. Once you go into 2-minute rounds and you're getting 5 rounds, there's a 10-minute commitment there, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you look at how much you're training over the course of the week and all the other workouts you're doing, sometimes it may not be worthwhile for you to invest that time into this development if it's not your focus. But in saying that, it's a great workout, good fun, good to develop that strength. So once you're kind of going further into back lever work, things you can do is obviously you need some rings that are a bit higher, and then you're going to get a bit more range of motion in that shoulder extension. So you can use a bar as well. I don't mind the bar, it's a good training variation, but I find most people do much better in the rings at the beginning because they rotate. Whereas the bar, that fixed bar, can be quite heavy on the shoulders because it doesn't let you rotate, or in the elbows and forearms. So you can use the underhand grip or the overhand grip on the bar. With that, you have to get your legs through to get over, which is quite challenging in itself. So you want to have that kind of that Manna ability to get your butt through is also going to help you in the hang upside down to get your butt and your legs through as well. Where are we going with that? These rings are quite good in terms of being able to have set positions, but they do take a bit longer to change over, whereas the slider clips are a bit faster. So yeah, just to have a quick look at a bar version, you just got to be able to get your legs through and get that tuck. So here, and coming through and being able to stretch down, and here, that's quite heavy. So for some people, they need to drop out to come back up. If you kind of get stuck, you've got to be able to have that set up where you're comfortable enough and flexible enough. And that's why there's no reason to rush it if you've got rings. Just do it where your feet are closer to the ground and it's super safe and you feel comfortable. So to progress on the other one is just to come up over and then lower yourself down. Now, just like the planches and all the other straight arm strength, you start with tuck variations and then you can open up the body and just getting that 30-second hold there and that connective tissue strength to get that. You can enter it in from the other way, so if you're coming through, get that lift up, pull, and then eccentrically lower, get that isometric. That way you're getting those dynamic reps, which are quite good. But yeah, you definitely don't want to rush it. If you can get good 30-second holds in each kind of position before you progress, then that's great. As you get into the harder variations, it's not so necessary to be able to do a full 30 seconds. You know, as you going towards more of a straight, a full lever. You know, a lot of the positions you might only need a good 10-second hold to be able to progress to the next level. So going from tuck to open tuck to butterfly to straddle to half, you know, all these variations. But don't rush it. You know, it's not worth it. As soon as you get any type of tendonitis or you rupture something, you know, your progress is completely halted and goes backwards. So it's far better to progress slowly with these movements, gradually build up, than it is to rush and get an injury, because it's going to make everything take a hell of a lot longer. And the back lever position, you'll feel like as you do harder versions, it's very heavy on the elbows. And you can squeeze the body with the arms like that and kind of cheat it and put the brakes on like that, and that kind of gets that friction there, so it does make it a lot easier. It's kind of like doing an elbow lever like that, where you've got the elbows in as opposed to a straight arm planche. You know, it's still quite hard, but you can kind of cheat it that way. And it's not really cheating, it's just a way to get it done. But my recommendation is just get really strong with the basics, so that way you've got a good foundation and you give yourself a longer training life. I've overtrained and pushed myself too hard, and I've been able to work up to kind of full back lever versions, and they've always cost me after by just pushing a little bit too hard, whereas if I just backed off a little bit, wouldn't have tweaked something or, you know, had my training interrupted. So just be super careful, and that's where, you know, the filming of your movements from the side, getting those positions back to me and getting feedback and just working with it and gradually progressing things with a coach is so important, just so you don't have those blowouts and wasted time. So get the videos into me, yeah, work on whatever rep kind of set scheme works for you. If it's just doing 3 sets, 30 seconds of each, 3 minutes, that's cool, that's a good way to get started. Then you might beat up to a 1.5 minute round with 30-second stretch before you go back into the second round. Or it might be that you're doing a 4-minute round with those front split stretches. They work really well, but 3 to 5 sets, if you're doing as 2-minute rounds, is good. So it's up to a 10-minute workout. Once you're kind of doing really heavy versions and it's quite hard, 3-minute rounds are much more optimal. So 5 sets would be a 15-minute commitment to really make progress in the harder levels. But as a beginner, or if you're just starting out with this, you can ride out some really good development with a lot less time and intensity invested into it. So see you soon, guys.